Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today I want to talk about detail. Detail in I guess this is a business blog. I guess it may be a career advice for young aspiring chefs, or really any industry, any business. Just recently I went to get I had a flat tire in my car, so I put the donut on. And a couple days later, I took my car to get the tire plug, but I went to get all my snow tires mounted. So take off, plug the flat tire, and mount tires, and of course, nothing major, but that's all it was. It was a $50 visit to the mechanic. And when I picked my car up, I opened the trunk, and in the trunk, if you're watching this on YouTube, here's the picture. But I opened my trunk, and they attempted to put away my donut, my spare tire. They attempted to put it away, and attempt is maybe an understatement. Basically opening up the compartment and putting it in there in the totally wrong order, because my compartment, when you open up my trunk of my car and you open up the compartment, there's another compartment where the tire goes underneath it. So then it hollows out, so you have actually a space to store more things. My tools, the tire cover that goes on it, the one compartment inside the compartment, and the lid that actually goes on it was raised, probably 6-8 inches. It was raised, wasn't even attempted to being put back. And I was a little taken back by this. And you know, here's what a lot of businesses miss. Here's what a lot of cooks miss. Here's what a lot of restaurants miss. Here's a lot of what just people miss. They miss the details. The first thing I said to myself is, if they didn't take the time to put away my spare tire properly, what else aren't they doing properly? That's the first thing that popped in my mind. When I told my friend was like, well, yeah, it's sort of a big deal. I see your point. And then when I told him, what else aren't they doing? You know, if they can't do that right, the simplest thing, if they can't do that right, what else aren't they doing? He's like, Marcus, I never thought of it like that. That's a very good point. As a young chef, as an aspiring chef, I was taught the fundamentals of cooking start in the storeroom, right? Your order comes in, and it's how you rotate your produce. It's how you put things on the shelf. It's how your storeroom looks. It's going to be a direct reflection of how your plates look, your food looks. Because if you don't take the time in the storeroom to line things up, and we had a term, GSL, grocery store look. When you walk into a storeroom, my storeroom, any storeroom that I've ever been part of, I wanted to make sure it looked like a grocery store. We wouldn't walk into a grocery store with all the boxes pushed in back, nothing lined up neat, labels the opposite ways. That wouldn't happen in a grocery store. You want GSL, grocery store look, and that was instilled into me at a very young age. And as an aspiring chef, the storeroom looks like a grocery store, GSL. Now, the one chef explained to me, it was, Marcus, if you take the time to do it, to put the boxes of arboreal rice for risotto, the boxes of salt, whatever it is, if you take the time to do that right now, that detail's only going to flow over into your food. And when something goes on a plate that doesn't look 100% right, it might look 90% right, you're going to take that extra second and move it and make it look better, because you've already programmed yourself from the get-go. And that's how my whole career has been. And when cooks look at me and they're like, well, you didn't change that plate much. Why'd you pull it out of the window? Because small little tiny fraction makes a difference. The grocery stores know if the shelf doesn't look neat, it's not going to sell. You want your food to sell. You want to be proud of your food. You want your food to go out and it has to look the same every time. Grocery store look, it has to have that conformity, it has that same look. It has to be, it's not like, where am I going to find this cereal this time, and do I have to look behind this box? No, you want that plate to be the same every single time. You want the details to be exact every single time. You want to take that extra second and make sure the plate is perfect, just like how you're putting things away. And that's how I feel what this mechanic shop did, what this automotive shop did. If they're not going to take the time to put my tire away properly, what else aren't they taking time to do? You know, granted it was just put on snow tires, but how if I had a bigger job? How if there was something else? You know, is the fact of the matter, you're not going to, clean up after yourself? Mechanics are known to get cars dirty, right? Their fingerprints on cars, they always have greasy hands. Are you not going to clean up after yourself? I have one mechanic who vacuums my car, picks it up, delivers it, vacuums, washes it, and then puts on the invoice, right? Puts on the invoice, so-and-so's personal touch, 0, right? Free, basically, 0.00, like as in a free charge. That's awesome. Because they're vacuuming my car, they're picking it up, they're dropping it off, they work on my schedule. That's great. This place couldn't even put away my spare tire. And I've gone to this place once before. This is my second or third time. And the issues I've had before at this place is they don't call me back. I'm like, listen, I have a tight schedule. And the one time I almost had to leave my car there overnight because I told them, I said, as soon as you're done with my car, call me. You know, oh, it'll be done by noon. I said, call me as soon as it's done, I'll be right over. They never called me, and then finally at 4:30 I called them and said, hey, they go, oh, your car's been done. I said, but nobody called me to let me know. Oh, well, yeah, no, it's sitting here. No, sorry, nothing. And they go, well, we close at 5. I'm like, well, I can't get there till 5:30. I mean, I told you when I dropped my car off that I'm on a very tight schedule and this and that. And so I couldn't get over and get my cars. I actually was able to get over there like at 5:05 and they stayed open, but it made me feel very uncomfortable. To be able to, you know, because when you say things, when you're dropping your car off, when you're giving instructions, like when you're ordering a dish at a restaurant and you say, you know, hold the salt, and they don't hold the salt, or they say, I don't want the zucchini because I don't like zucchini, and it gets delivered, and when the chef says, oh, you can just pick it out or something, or you know if they just pick that out of the food, that's annoying, and that's how I felt this place. And this place came with very high recommendations. My parents loved this place, and my parents even called for me to get the appointment to do my snow tires. Oh, he'll take care of you, Marcus, this and that. So now I'm thinking, well, if I came with a good recommendation, my parents who go there all the time recommended me, you know, maybe what he did with my tire was maybe special treatment. Maybe somebody wouldn't have even gotten that kind of treatment. So it's just, it makes you wonder. But the point of this is it's in the details. Whatever business you're in, it's in the details. You're judged by how well you do the small things, right? You judge a cook by how well he does the simple things. Don't complicate things yet. Do the simple things properly, and everything else will build upon that. And I was taught that as a young chef too. Marcus, don't try to do all this fancy food. If you can roast a rack of lamb, if you can cook a piece of salmon perfect, if you can cook a carrot, if you can cook this vegetable, if you can make perfect mashed potatoes, that's all you need to do, and everything gets assembled together. Don't have to worry about stuffing something and this and that and then making some kind of celery oil to go. That's above and beyond, because a lot of people don't know the basics. And I saw a lot of chefs in my time, especially when I worked at the Greenbrier, a lot of these guest chefs who would come in, famous authors, famous chefs from across the country. A lot of these people didn't know the basics. And then when I got my first executive chef job, I would hire people that had 10, 15, 20 years experience. There were qualified catering chefs, qualified chefs. There were executive chefs at smaller hotels. I remember the one guy came in and he probably had 20 years experience. And I hired him as my sous chef. And the first time he went to cook pork loin, roasted pork loin or seared pork loin, whatever it was, something, I looked at him and I go, that's not seared, it's not roasted, that looks like it's boiled. He goes, well, what difference does it make? And I said, that makes all of the difference. In those beginning steps of cooking that item, that's where you made the crucial mistakes, where now you can't make up for that at the end of the process. The foundation was never set. So you're never gonna achieve the flavors that you could have if the first step was done properly. And the first step was so simple. But these people have been taught, or not really taught, but nobody's ever corrected. Nobody's ever given them feedback. I tell my chefs all the time, I'm giving you feedback. You've been working other places and you've gotten no constructive feedback. I'm not criticizing you, I'm giving you feedback. We're taking what you've done that might be good and trying to make it better, or something that's great and trying to bring it up a notch. A friend of mine in my mastermind group, every time I do a successful event, and he knows it's successful, he looks at me and goes, Marcus, how could you have done that event more successful? What's going to make it better next time? I'm like, Jim, I grossed $5,000 off the event. He's like, I don't care. What can you do next time to make that event better? I'm like, Jim, but I had 100 people. He's like, what can you do next time to get 120 people? And that's always how he is. He's like, what can you do to bring it to the next level? Well, what could that mechanic shop done? They could have put my tire away right. For starters, just my tire, just put it away right. It's literally a 5-minute job. That's it, 5 minutes to put it away. But now, as a guest, as a consumer, I'm thinking, well, I have another mechanic that I use faithfully. This was just an emergency thing. You know what? Unless it's a dire emergency, I would never go back to this guy. I would never recommend him. all over a 5-minute detail job. When you look at your business, if you're a business owner, if you're a manager, walk in your front door, look at what the guests see, okay? Because you walk in the back door all the time. Those small details, there's tons of details that you're missing, that you need help with, that you need a different perspective, you need a different angle, that you overlook. And your staff, if you're missing them, your staff is missing them because you're not reinforcing that to your staff. You have to reinforce it. I reinforce things all the time. It's like there's one empty box here, there's one piece of paper here, there's one thing here, there's a slip here, there's a piece of paper there. I'm like, guys, the guests don't need to see what we see. The guests need to see better than we see. We have to fix what we see so the guests can see better. And it's the small things that, like okay, you might have a drink of something and it's sitting at the edge of the bar. The guests don't want to see you that you have a coffee cup or a coffee cup. A guest is sitting at the bar and the person next to them leaves, they don't want to be sitting next to dirty dishes of somebody else's, or a dirty placemat or a dirty napkin for more than 30 seconds a minute. Let's get staff on that right away. You're used to seeing it because you see dirty dishes every night as a staff, but the guest who's sitting next to you shouldn't have to see a seat that was left with dirty dishes or a dirty placemat or a menu. So the detail, it's details, the smallest details like the storeroom. Putting things away properly will carry on throughout your whole business. I'm Chef Marcus Cirigliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely pass it on.